please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. It's easy, fast, and it helps us create more content. My name is Clara, and this is my story. I'm going to tell you how I lost everything I ever loved and how, among thousands of cases like mine, there is almost never a happy ending. Mine was different, but I paid a very, very high price. I am 27 years old. I was about to marry the love of my life, the man I loved more than anything in this world. I could never imagine myself without him. I needed him in my life more than anyone, and I had already pictured us together after 20 years of marriage, surrounded by 5 children and our grandchildren. The story begins at my bachelorette party, 14 days before the wedding. My friends threw a party for me, and at first, everything seemed normal. There was laughter, toasts, jokes, and drinks. I don't know at what point one of them invited a few guys I didn't know. I felt a little uncomfortable, but I decided to ignore it. Everything seemed under control, so we kept drinking, dancing, and laughing. At some point, one of the men started flirting with me. I was already a little drunk. Although a part of me felt guilty for playing along, I decided to continue. The situation excited me. There's a dangerous kind of power you feel when you know someone loves you and is waiting for you. A power that isn't real at all. My friends encouraged me to go with it, so I let myself be carried away. As we danced, we got closer and closer until, on impulse, we kissed. I wanted to stop there, but a friend insisted I should take the opportunity. In a few days, she said, I would be married, and I wouldn't have that freedom anymore. She told me to go all the way, to have one night of sex to de-stress from all the wedding preparations. She promised my fiancé would never know. In that moment, I knew I shouldn't continue, that I never should have let things go this far. I knew my fiancé, Ethan, was waiting for me at home, trusting me completely. But the drinks, the voices of my friends egging me on, the pressure, and my own staggering stupidity made me choose the wrong path. I decided to go ahead with it. I slept with that man. We went into one of the bedrooms. After a while, he left, but I couldn't bring myself to leave the room. The shame and regret washed over me. It was as if the alcohol had suddenly evaporated, and the full weight of reality came crashing down. When I finally mustered the courage to walk out, the first thing I saw was a message from Ethan. He was telling me how much he loved me and how excited he was to see me walk down the aisle in my wedding dress. Reading those words, my body went cold. I tried to hide the regret and shame that were consuming me. The next day, I felt sick. Everything seemed unreal. Ethan woke up and gave me a kiss, just like he did every morning. I had to fight back tears. Seeing him so in love, so oblivious, was a slow, twisting knife in my gut. I hated myself. The guilt was eating me alive. I felt completely detached from reality. It was hard to even look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't believe what I had done. I don't know when he started to suspect something. I tried to act normal, but I don't think I was a very good actress. I wanted to confess everything, to beg for his forgiveness, to tell him how sorry I was, but I knew he would never forgive me. I knew him too well. I knew it would destroy him, that I would lose him forever. My friends convinced me to hide the truth. They said if he ever found out, They would take the blame, saying they had pressured me while I was drunk, that it was just a few meaningless kisses. Deep down, I knew no excuse could absolve me of my guilt, but in my desperation, I followed their advice. As the days went by, I noticed Ethan was acting strange, distant. More than once, I saw him with tears in his eyes, but he never said why. I told myself it was just pre-wedding stress. He never confronted me directly, but our relationship was no longer the same. After my betrayal, we stopped being intimate. I couldn't look him in the eye anymore, and I realize now that my own distance was what gave me away. 2 days later, he stopped initiating anything. When I tried, he'd say he wasn't in the mood. He stopped kissing me, stopped picking me up. When we went out together, he avoided any physical contact. He would come home late and take hours to reply to my messages. Yet, in the few times he spoke to me, he would still say he loved me. Over time, I began to think that he somehow knew everything and was profoundly hurt. But why wouldn't he confront me? It was confusing. I spoke to my friends, who assured me that no one had said anything, and that the guys from the party were strangers to him. 2 days before the wedding, everything was in limbo, but the ceremony was still on. I didn't know if I should confront him or if it was just nerves. Sometimes, I'd catch him looking at me with a completely blank expression. I was afraid to ask, terrified he would leave me right then and there. I convinced myself that after the wedding, I would get him into therapy and do whatever it took to make him okay again. The wedding day arrived. I was a wreck of excitement and terror. I decided to act as if nothing had happened. I promised myself I would make it up to him somehow, that I would make him the happiest man in the world. That morning, I woke up and realized he hadn't slept in our bed. His side was untouched. I called him countless times, but he didn't answer. Panic set in. I was sure he had found out everything and wasn't going to show up. But just as I was losing hope, he answered my last call. He said he was taking care of some last-minute wedding errands and had fallen asleep on the sofa watching a movie. His voice sounded strange. I begged him not to be late, fighting to control the anguish in my own voice. I told him I loved him, but he hung up quickly. I thought maybe he hadn't heard my last words. My heart pounding, I continued getting ready in a daze. My white wedding dress, which I had chosen with so much love, fit perfectly. But remorse and fear swirled in my head like demons. What if he didn't come? What if he decided not to marry me? I adjusted my veil with trembling hands, praying it wasn't too late to redeem myself. Ethan finally arrived at the church, shortly after my friends. The tension was thick. They knew what I had done and could barely look me in the eye after encouraging my betrayal. They told me Ethan looked handsome, radiant, but I could hear the falseness in their voices. I felt I didn't deserve to marry him. He had sacrificed so much to see me happy. He had lifted me up when I was lost. He had supported me while I was studying. I knew I was betraying him, but I believed our love could overcome anything. You can't imagine what I felt walking down that aisle. He was standing there, waiting for me. He would look at me for a moment, then look away. Something was terribly wrong. I knew it instantly. but there was no turning back. The church was filled with our family and friends. When the moment came for him to say, "I do," Ethan looked me straight in the eye and asked, "Did you ever love me?" His own eyes were filled with tears. I froze. The question caught me completely off guard. I felt a lump form in my throat, and my heart began to race. I didn't know what to say. He answered his own question with a broken voice. The church fell into complete silence. All the guests were stunned. I couldn't say a word. When I finally managed to speak, I stammered, "Of course I did. I loved you with all my soul, and I still want to be your wife for the rest of my life." His face changed completely. His eyes filled with rage. I felt like he wanted to slap me, and I would have deserved it. "I saw the videos," he shouted furiously. "What videos?" I asked, confused. "The ones from your bachelorette party. The ones where you kiss a guy and then go into a room with him," he answered with contempt. A chorus of shock filled the church. Someone exclaimed loudly, "Oh my God!" I panicked. I could hear my friends whispering, trying to figure out who had filmed it. I tried to explain, crying, that it wasn't like that it was just a game and nothing had happened. But I knew he wouldn't believe me. I found out later that one of my friends had filmed parts of the party and sent the videos to a group chat. The same friend who had pushed me to betray him then met with Ethan and showed him everything. As I tried to convince him it was all a lie, one of his friends projected the videos onto a large wall in the church. The first was the kiss. The guests murmured in shock. His mother, Eleanor, was crying, asking me, "Why?" Everyone stared. My friends, mortified, saw themselves in the videos, encouraging me. My family looked at me with shame. Tears streamed down my face as I desperately said it was just one kiss, that I was sorry, that it would never happen again. I tried to hug him, but he pushed me away violently and screamed, "Don't you ever touch me again." That destroyed me. I knew I had betrayed him, that he was hurt, but I never imagined he would speak to me with such disgust. I had barely processed his words when the second video played, me entering the bedroom with the other man. Panic, despair, and fear took over. Crying, I pleaded that it meant nothing, that I never felt anything for that man. But Ethan, beside himself, yelled, "And is that supposed to make me feel better? You cheated on me days before our wedding." He hurled insults at me, trying to hurt me with his words. I had never seen him so furious, never heard him speak that way to anyone, let alone to me. Our families tried to calm him down, but he was blinded by rage and pain. Slowly, his fury gave way to suffering. I saw the man who once looked at me with adoration, now look at me with raw agony in his tear-filled eyes. He sobbed, asking, "Why? Why did you choose to destroy me just days before our wedding? What did I do wrong? Was it loving you too much?" His questions shattered my soul. I cried and knelt before him, begging him to listen, not to leave, telling him I would die if he left me, because I didn't know how to live without him. I begged for forgiveness 1,000 ways, suggested couples therapy, said my love for him was greater than anything. But then he said something that will be etched into my heart forever. "Someone who loves you," he said, "never hurts the one they claim to love. And you killed me." It was as if my soul left my body. His pain was infinitely greater than mine. I collapsed on the floor, and wept like I never had before, cursing myself for destroying my life and his. Before he walked away, he said, "Never look for me again. I never want to touch you again. You disgust me." He insulted me again with the harshest words imaginable. Each one was a stab to my shattered heart. Humiliated and devastated, my family tried to lift me up, but I just wanted to lie there forever. I couldn't believe everything had fallen apart so completely. He left, and I stayed there, still pleading for forgiveness, unable to stand. I didn't have the courage to face anyone. When I finally got to my feet, I noticed his family was also gone. My parents were extremely disappointed. My mother said to me, "I didn't raise you for this." When I got home, all of his things were gone. He had torn all of our photos in half, leaving only the parts with me in them. It was as if he had erased himself from our life. I went up to our bedroom and cried uncontrollably. I cursed myself for everything I had done. I called him, sent him texts and voice messages, pleading for forgiveness, telling him I loved him. I don't remember how many messages I sent before he blocked me. He blocked me, my family, and my friends. All of our mutual friends blocked me too. I pushed my friends away. Nothing they could do could fix the damage. They tried to help, but I didn't want any reminder of that day. Desperate, I went to his office. He had quit his job. I tried to contact his family. Finally, after much persistence, his mother, Eleanor, agreed to see me when she was home alone. The moment I saw her, I broke down, hugged her tightly, and fell to my knees, begging for forgiveness. She had always been like a mother to me. She gently lifted me up, her eyes wet with tears. "You hurt my son so much," she said. Those words brought all the guilt rushing back like an avalanche. I hugged her and cried on her shoulder for almost an hour. Feeling her embrace was like being a little closer to him. I called her mom and begged her forgiveness over and over. She wiped my tears and told me she forgave me. She said she had insisted that Ethan talk to me, but he had reacted badly, yelling at her for still defending me after everything I'd done. He had insulted her, and she had slapped him. His father, Richard, was furious with her. The entire family was fractured. She told me her son had forbidden her from having any contact with me. And then he had disappeared. He had packed his bags and left without telling anyone where he was going. She would only call from a private number, always drunk and crying. She told me that neither his father nor his brothers wanted to see me again. I understood. I only asked that she keep some contact with me, even if just by text, whenever possible. She agreed, but warned that we would have to be very discreet. That one conversation brought a small measure of relief to my tormented soul. The following months were terrible. I would wake up crying in every corner of the house where he had once been. I called out his name as if he could hear me. I stopped working. I barely ate. My health collapsed. I would visit the places we used to go. I hired private investigators to find him, with no success. I started bothering his family and friends, begging them to tell me where he was. Some called the police. Others just argued with me. No one would or could tell me where he was. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. Every day without him was a new kind of torture. I thought about ending my suffering, but what if at some point he came looking for me? 11 months had passed, and I had lost my sanity. Finally, my body couldn't take it anymore. My family took me to therapy after they found me in what was once our home, collapsed from an overdose. I was physically and mentally destroyed. My life had descended into utter chaos. I had to accept that he had moved far away to never see me again. To him, I was dead. I had to accept with resignation that I would never see the love of my life again. At least, not as my partner. He had made his feelings for me very clear since that fateful day. I spent a year in therapy, trying to bear the pain and the consequences of my actions. I learned that infidelity is a grave decision with devastating effects on everyone involved. Deep down, we always knew that. Everyone knows. But we still choose to destroy the ones we claim to love. As for why I did it, he told me it was because I never truly loved him. But if I didn't love him, why do I still feel this emptiness inside me? I know I have no excuse. Nothing justifies what I did. Just days before our wedding, I destroyed him. The path to healing was long and lonely. I hope that one day I can forgive myself and believe in love again. A little over 2 years have passed since that day. I left therapy a month ago, having recovered a great deal. I got a job. I'm trying to lead a normal life, so my family will leave me in peace. I'm even seeing a new guy. I know I can never erase what I did, but I've started to accept that things will never be the same again. And I've improved in every aspect of my life. With my family, at work. I'm making new friends. I stopped going to the places my ex and I used to frequent. It felt like I was betraying him all over again, but I understood it was for my own good. I still keep in touch with his mother, Eleanor, but she can't mention me to him, or he would cut ties with her. And I've accepted that. It seemed like I was finally making progress, but fate insists on torturing me whenever I find a little peace. Recently, after a lot of effort, I reconnected with an old friend of my ex, Olivia. She agreed to resume contact on the condition that I never ask about him, and I accepted. One day, she invited me for coffee. We had been talking for 3 months, and I had kept my promise. That day, I remembered I had forgotten to send some documents for work and wanted to make a few edits. I asked to borrow her laptop so we could continue our conversation. She agreed, then went to order the coffees. She told me to close all the open windows so it would run better. But as I went to close her social media tabs, I saw my ex, Ethan's, new profile on her feed. He had posted a recent photo. Seeing him after so long was like stepping out of my reality and into another dimension. There was the smile I hadn't seen in years. He looked so happy that, without thinking, I smiled too and touched the screen as if I could caress him. I clicked on his profile and noticed it had been created recently, which is why I could never find him before. I kept scrolling and saw a very beautiful girl named Emily. I scrolled further and saw a photo of them kissing. It brought the nightmare of my ruined wedding rushing back. It was like my heart was breaking all over again. I kept looking, my eyes filling with tears, and I saw her hand with a ring on it. The caption read, "Forever by your side, my love." I quickly took a picture of his profile and hers with my phone. I had to investigate. I knew I had to close the page before Olivia returned. It was hard to control myself, and not run home to find out more. When Olivia came back, she saw me, pale and distraught. I lied, saying I'd received an urgent message from work. It was incredibly difficult to keep my composure, but I couldn't hold it together any longer and said I was feeling unwell. She understood, and I left quickly. When I got home, I collapsed in tears, inconsolable, just like before. I had found him, but now he was going to marry someone else. I had always held on to a small sliver of hope that if I ever found him, and he was still single, maybe we would have a second chance. But that fantasy died right there. Reality hit me with full force. Things got worse. I went back to therapy. I'm crying again. I created a fake account to follow my ex and his fiancé. I know I'm only hurting myself. I already know where they live, where they work. I even have his number. I've called a few times, pretending I needed quotes for repairs, which is what he does now. Hearing his voice again, I have no words. I recorded it, and I listen to it every day. I got other numbers to call again, changing my voice so as not to sound suspicious. I have 1,000 ideas in my head to see him, at least one last time before the wedding. I know he won't choose me over her. I just want to ask for his forgiveness and wish him the best, even if it destroys me inside. I have everything planned. I rented a house a few miles from his workplace. I deliberately damaged the garage to make it look real. I invited him to come on Thursday of next week for an estimate. I told him I have 5 dogs that get agitated around strangers to try and ensure he comes alone. I said the garage would be open and that when he finished, he should come to the living room where I would be working in my studio. I'm so nervous. My whole body feels like jelly. Suddenly, I see a truck parking out front. It's him. He's dressed casually, jeans and a tight white t-shirt, tools on his belt. He's more muscular, with a bit of stubble. My God, he's even more handsome than before. I run to the studio. Every minute feels like an hour. I hear footsteps. My heart is about to explode. He calls out the fake name I gave him. My legs are trembling. My throat is tight. God, help me. I take the first step and walk out. He sees me and doesn't recognize me. I take off the glasses and push the purple hair from my face and say, "Don't go, please." He's silent for a minute, then replies, "Hi, Clara." "Hi," I say. "How have you been?" "Good. And you?" "I'm so sorry for what happened." Tears were streaming down my face. "I know," he said. "You wouldn't be here after all these years if you weren't. I thought you might come sooner." I felt an enormous sense of relief. He had been expecting me. Approaching him was difficult, but I did it. I tried to hug him, and he let me. He hugged me back, tightly. I cried, begging for forgiveness. He ran his hand over my head, comforting me, and gave me a kiss on my hair. It was the most beautiful thing I'd felt in years. I knew it wasn't a kiss of love, but it was the closest I'd get. We sat on the sofa. I can't write down everything we talked about, but here are the important parts. He began, "I know it wasn't easy for either of us. I said some cruel things, and I ask your forgiveness for that, but I was devastated. It wasn't easy to recover, but now I think I'm ready to forgive you and move on." He took a deep breath. "Today, I'm with an incredible person, Emily. She helped me heal wounds I thought would never close. We're about to get married. I didn't look for you because I thought it would be worse for you, but I never hated you, Clara. Not even in the worst moments. I loved you so much, and a part of me always will. I tried to hold back my tears, but it was impossible. I looked at him with tenderness, with a sweet, sharp ache in my chest, and said, I just wanted to see you one last time. I needed this to set myself free, Ethan. I never expected you to drop everything for me. You deserve to be happy, and I ruined that. I just want to ask for your forgiveness. For everything. For destroying you. For making you doubt love. He looked at me with watery eyes, held my hands, and said, You're brave for doing this. And thank you for letting me say what I've kept inside for so long. Clara, I forgive you. I hugged him tightly one more time. I didn't want that moment to end, but I knew I had to let him go. We stood up. He looked at me and smiled for the first time. He said, Take care, okay? I nodded. Be very happy. You deserve it. And then he was gone. He walked out the door and didn't look back. He didn't need to. I didn't look either. I closed the door slowly, rested my forehead against it, and cried. But this time, I cried in peace. Finally, I had truly said goodbye.